Jimmy
Thank you.
Vivino, great to see you, brother. I'm
Hey,
sorry
man.
I didn't.
Wait, don't mind if I just peruse the room a minute, all right?
Yeah, go
Because I
ahead.
see you have the easy chair,
Yeah,
and then there's a really nice looking bass over there.
she's
One of those
great.
Electric Nationals,
Uh-huh.
a neon guitar that Joe Bonamassa does not own, a
It's not,
drum kit.
yeah, an old Lady Ludwig drum kit.
Oh, Leedy, some old 30 stuff, man. I want to make sure you see the lava lamp. That's the main reason. I got the lava lamp, you got the heater. We're good, man.
Jimmy, I'm totally digging it because all this stuff you've been broadcasting on Instagram Live, it's such a treat because I don't listen to the radio much anymore because they don't play anything. And my record collection is all in storage. I don't run vinyl anymore.
Yeah,
And
and I'm probably playing a lot of your record collection.
you are, and you're doing it live with a new feel and a new breath of fresh air, and it's just so much fun.
Everything is analytical except the blues.
And that's the beauty of what you're doing is you're taking the essence of what those songs were intended to be, which were basically love songs. You're bringing them back to the forefront, and it's all about feel.
Somebody said to Lightning Hopkins, did one of his typical 13 bars. He waited an extra bar, and the producer stopped him.
Right.
Stopped him mid-take.
Yeah.
They said, hey, Lightning, yeah, that wasn't 12 bars. It's supposed to be 12 bars. And Lightning said, what man said that?
No.
You know, who wrote that law? And then he said, you the producer, why don't you produce me a bottle of whiskey? You know, because it wasn't meant to be classical music where, oh, that's how the Robert Johnson solo goes. Well, that's how it went one time in one take.
Yep.
And that goes for every record I love, every Sonny Boy, Lightning Hopkins. Those guys, they were the real blues because they didn't say, okay, here's the words to this song. The song came, they mixed, they crossed, they came out of their heart.
Before they played it, and they needed a couple measures rest to get it together in their head before they sang it.
That's absolutely true.
Because they all borrowed from each other. I know you've always talked about borrowing as opposed to, if you steal from one, that's plagiarism. If you steal from many, that's research.
Well, that's lawyers too, which didn't exist back then. There's a lot of talk about this one getting ripped off, that one getting ripped off, this one getting ripped off, and they even divided on racial lines. But truthfully, and you would know this, having the Memphis culture in your family, that everybody was getting ripped off. Del Hawkins had to give half of the writing to Susie Q to a DJ's wife to get it played. You know,
Diane's father had a hit right after Rocket 88 called Ride the Boogie. It basically just had to get through Sun Records and Sam Phillips before it got to Chicago. And that's when Leonard Chess put his name on it and published it and took everything on that end.
You know, your father's on that Ike Turner classic?
No, he came out 4 months after Rocket 88.
Oh, okay.
His brothers played on the tour along with the Newborns, and his sons, you know, were the backup band.
Finest was like as good as Art Tatum.
Yes, he was. What I was saying is all the legalism that had to get past Sam Phillips, he already wanted his name on it. And then for distribution, he sent it to Chess, and then they took everything.
And then there was Dewey Phillips had to get a cut.
Well, that was on another station. I mean, because
Well, DIA was the station.
Getting back to what I was saying, what you're doing is great. And thank you so much for bringing this to a new generation, because otherwise they would have to search it out and do the research when you're right in their face. And that's the beauty of what's happening with social media now, is that we can take somebody such as yourself, who I consider to be a musicologist and also sort of a professor now.
I'm trying to keep the flame out of the water right now, you know, just hold it up. I'm just trying to prop it up as best I can, because I always say this about the blues. It's the house that I live in. I did not build it.
Yep.
I merely rent a room in there, you know.
Yep.
Other folks built the house very well, very sturdy, great foundation. And I learned from Mike Bloomfield. I was one of the few people that followed him back on his backward journey, because, you know, he came out of the box, this smoking electric guitar player. You know, we heard him with Dylan, we heard him with Butterfield, we heard him with Cooper on Super Session, we heard him with the Electric Flag, we heard him playing this burning electric guitar. At some point, and I remember going to see a show, he showed up with just an acoustic guitar, and he sat in a chair and he played. And people were unkind about it. The audience was very selfish, saying, play Season of the Witch. He didn't even play on that song. But what happened is he was taking a journey backwards and started doing this Bill Brunsey stuff and Kansas City Jim Jackson and all kinds of country blues. And I went and followed him backwards. So I do that too now. It makes me feel good when they say, oh, I'm going to go check that record out.
Yeah.
because it's not about checking me out doing it as much. Go back and find this record. You're going to find gold that you didn't even know was just sitting right under your nose.
The likelihood of people doing that and finding that is very small. So you bringing it to the forefront makes it available for everybody, and we thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. But at the same time, Michael Bloomfield, this goes back to the heart of a blues musician being colorblind. The heart said to Bill Graham, the Butterfield Band's not playing unless you get B.B. King in here to play with us that night.
Yeah.
Or if you get Albert King. And, Bill Graham's like, who's Albert King? So Bloomfield was bringing these cats along, the same way the Stones, who get, sometimes people say the wrong things,
Right.
but they put Howlin' Wolf on Shindig, man.
Yep, they did.
And also the Stones, what they did for Stevie Wonder's career by having him opening. I went to see Stevie Wonder in the Butterfield Band a year before he did that, before Talking Book came out. Half a house.
Wow.
All right? Half a house. Stevie was closing, Butterfield opened.
Wow.
A year later, he's opening for the Stones and Talking Book's out. And all of a sudden, Stevie Wonder's everybody's favorite, crossed every line. And he did this. The Stones did the same thing for Ike and Tina Turner, if you remember.
Yeah.
By having them. So please don't bash the Rolling Stones or anybody who you think co-opted the blues. All they did was serve it to you in a way that you could understand it, because it was way too deep.
When Willie Dixon spanked Led Zeppelin, it was just all.
Oh, yeah. As long as Willie got paid eventually.
But all that stuff, that English invasion, man, that was how I got introduced. I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you that.
Oh, sure. Me too. Even Van Morrison, they were all playing that stuff.
Man. I mean, my radio stations in Sacramento, where I grew up, I mean, they were just playing all the top 40 crap, the Beach Boys, the Beatles, and Frankie Valli. You couldn't hear Muddy or Howlin' or any of those people. The first pirate radio station started coming out of San Francisco, KSAN, with Tom Donahue. That used to come at the Delta. I used to put my headphones on. I could barely get it, but I could get it, and it would go off at midnight. Used to play this beautiful song, with them going off the air. And I used to cry because I could just wait for it to come back on the air the next day. My lifeline into another world that I'd never been able to be introduced to before.
That transistor radio meant so much to us. You remember waiting for a song again. It was going to come eventually if you stayed on long enough.
Yep.
There was a kind of a playlist going on. But those R&B stations, though, a new record could come. A guy could walk in, just say, play this. That's where DIA came in, because Rufus Thomas is probably if there is a godfather, it's Rufus Thomas.
I got the juice to make you feel loose.
Yeah. And by the way, he had a career in minstrel shows, vaudeville. He was a comedian as well as a singer and a great writer. Well, I don't even know if he played an instrument.
I don't know either. Christine Spindell, who was the program director at the time that they hired him at WDIA, her father had a clothing store or something in town, and he used to hire Rufus to sit on the sidewalk and do his rap verses on the products. You got the shirt with the collar that gonna make your woman holler.
This is early rap.
That's how Christine met him and why she reached out to him to become one of the DJs after Nat D. Williams.
Well, these guys learned as kids playing the Dozens, on the corner. And if you don't know what that is, folks, look up the Dozens. I'm not even going to talk about it, but it's really what early rap people on the New York side, anyway, early rap groups were doing that. It was kind of like a gang war, kind of a fight. Who was better? Yep. And and unfortunately, it turned into actual gang war. But really, it was about the Dozens outdoing your mama. Oh, your mama's so ugly, she. Your mama's so ugly, she. Yep. And that goes all the way back. Even Chuck Berry's street poetry it reached everybody.
They used to do it jump roping too.
Oh yeah.
So man, thank you so much for doing that. So now, I mean, here we are, West Coast meets East Coast, and when I met you doing the Bugs Henderson album with Chuck Gavoris, I immediately just went like, and I like this guy, man. I mean, I know he's East Coast, because most East Coast people I have to kind of sneak up on, because sometimes they don't understand the hippy dippy Big Lebowski thing. I immediately liked you, and we immediately connected. And I was playing bass on that, and that's
you were playing it very well too, I must say. And I think I may have given you my standard line when I first meet a great musician. I say, how come I don't know you? Because I feel like sometimes we feel like such a find to meet somebody like-minded around the same age that you don't know already, that's been out here, because we're workers, right? Now we can get back to work, hopefully,
Yeah,
pretty soon.
I've got a gig next month with the boss. We'll see what happens. We're going to Indy.
Yeah, I got a couple booked too, and I can't wait to get out there. What do you got there? Let's see.
I even got this if you want. Can you hear that?
Well, can you hear this?
Oh yeah, that's right. You got your kick drum.
Yeah. I got what Mac Revenek used to call a foot propeller.
Your secret foot pedal that you put in that nobody can see, and they're going, "Why does it sound so good?"
Well, I'll play a song that's very derivative. The Elmore lick, which actually is a Robert Johnson lick. So, you be homesick, James, or
say something and talk about why and how you're doing it. And that's your new.
What I do is I buy these Republic National resonators because really it's a tin can with a neck on it.
Okay.
They all. I think they're all the same.
It's actually a National Res Electric. It just.
I had one of those. It's really good. Yeah.
Best of both worlds, because then you can plug it through an amp and you can send the piezo.
Well, I got a pickup on mine. Guys used to tape things on. Big Joe had 3 extra strings. Well, let's go. I would walk 5
I don't know how that's going to sync up later on, but we'll see.
It looked like fun. It sure looked like it felt good.
The thing I love about you is that even though you're affecting your voice, which some people would consider to be a cultural appropriation, you sound like you. And I enjoy listening to you. And I don't think you sound like you're trying to be something. It sounds like you're just being you.
I try to just sing like the Italian kid I am from the neighborhood. We grew up black and white neighborhoods together where I was. So we grew up, I now have a lot of black friends that talk with their hands a lot, man, because I grew up with them, and we grew up in each other's kitchens, each other's houses, each other's basements, in the cars, in the garages.
Where was that exactly in New York?
I was in New Jersey.
Oh, you're in Jersey.
Patterson, New Jersey at first.
Okay.
And then over to Glen Rock, New Jersey. And of course, by the time I was 13, I was taking a bus in to go to the Fillmore in 1968. Then I was really, Bill Graham, between Ed Sullivan and Bill Graham, I was getting my education because, Bill Graham, you'd have Charles Lloyd opening up, playing some out shit on the flute, and then you might have a poet in the middle, and then you'd have the Dead would be on it.
Get into the Fillmore at 12 and 13 years old?
Oh, sure. You could get in, yeah, because we had an older brother with us. My friend Brian's older brother.
See, my brother
you could go to the early show.
Yeah. Only. I couldn't get to the Fillmore on the West Coast because I didn't have a.
Yeah, you needed somebody to get you in, and and Bill was, I got to know Bill a little bit. He didn't know much about music.
I met him with Eddie Money. I know all about the cat. But Bill walked in, I got to meet him, and he offered me the job with Eddie, and then Eddie tried to hit on my wife, and it was pretty funny. Ed was a piece of work. You were telling me about Bill.
He knew what he liked, I think, but I have a feeling he listened to Wagner more than he listened to the Mothers of Invention. A compelling cat, right? One of those people that walks into a room and the room stops.
Yeah.
I was figuring that I've been at it for 50 years. Did my first gigs when I was 16, I'm sure you did. Got a couple bucks, got the bug, and just kept going and never really did anything else.
Right.
But I don't know you can do that today.
We grew up in an era when it was just like a tsunami of this whole musical culture with the baby boomers and the golden era of classic rock from 65 to 75. That was an incredible window that we happened to be on that wave. And to try to tell kids about it and try to teach them how to get on that wave is really hard these days. So I know what you mean.
But even I think that we were looking back all the way to 55 also, because a lot of the guys we were backing up when we were kids had their records in the 50s. So we had to learn a lot about playing with Benny King and about playing with the Drifters, the Coasters. Sat in the room with the Five Satins in a hotel room after a gig, just singing with those guys, all right? Wow. Everybody drinking, and did gigs with Tony Williams and the Platters. And Tony had a tumbler full of gin, man. I mean, everybody thought, oh man, this guy's drinking a lot of water between songs. Right. And at one point, he was so gone, he sat on the floor in the middle of the gig. And he just sang from the floor. And he was finally relaxed. Those kind of bel canto singers, they don't exist anymore. The Clyde McPhatters, Fred Paris, Tony Williams, all those cats, man. They were my favorites. Those guys could really sing. And then along came some Italians like Johnny Maestro and Dion, and they were guys all over. Doo-wop was not really as heavy on the West Coast as it was in Chicago, Detroit, and New York, which is really gospel quintets. You were aware, though, that it all comes out of the Prisonaires, the Dixie Hummingbirds, the greatest, the Swan Silvertones. That's where rock and roll and gospel clash and make this amazing thing that happens, where we get all those soul singers from Memphis. They're all out of the church.
Yeah, exactly. Reverend Patterson was the reverend down there. He was the first one to look up from the Bible, start reading, and that's one, and he'd do that gerrymandering, but whatever they used to do when they used to push the tracks into line and they used to do the grunt when they don't together, that started becoming part of verse in church, and that's when it started to get into rhythm. And
it's an absolute punctuation to what you just said.
The organ player would hit it, wow,
You hear James Brown and Wilson Pickett do it all the time. It's the groove coming out, and it's like a dream.
Robert De Niro got famous for saying things 3 times in a row. Well, that came from the Black church.
Yeah.
The Lord is going to get you in the morning. The Lord is going to help you in the morning. The Lord is going to help you in the morning. 3 times. It always had to be 3 times.
Well, Bob Dylan has that theory about the threes. He said he learned from Lonnie Johnson
Okay.
the secret of threes. And I asked him, I think I understand what you're saying. We talked about it for a little bit, and I was kind of getting it then as I would listen to, I have a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for days. 1, 2, 3. I have a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for days. Ain't no peace in the barnyard since my rooster went away. In threes.
Yeah.
So all that 3 in between, it can be very unnatural for some musicians. For me, it's like as natural as can be.
Right, because we're always thinking in terms of fours, because we listen to pop music in 4/4, which is basically 2/2 personified, which is polka music.
Yeah. But that's why musicians don't dance.
Right.
Because people don't always stay. People dance kind of through the beat. Real good dancers dance through the beat. That James Brown, it's the one. It's all the one. But dancers don't think about the way musicians do. That's why we suck when we dance.
So what's in the future for Jimmy Vivino? What are you doing now? I know you did the Fab Four a lot in the past, and
the Fab Four has kind of seen its heyday with COVID kind of killing it, and Will Leak relocated to France where his wife's family is, and his wife's mother is there, and
doing some stuff with Joe Bonamassa lately, and we want to.
Yeah. And I just did a thing, hey, for this, I don't know if you heard of this Philo, right? First in, last out. And Wally Ingram and Tree Adams put it together. But we're trying to get some money to the crew guys that you and we walk into the gig, right? We walk into sound check, everything's set up. Those guys have been working since 9 a.m. By the time we get there at 4, we forget. Everybody says, raise money for the musicians, raise money for the musicians. Well, the crew people.
We would be nothing without them.
No. And the other thing was the Keeping the Blues Alive record, Phoning It In. The Blue Quarantinos, which is something.
Can people find that somewhere? Can they contribute?
Yes. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on the ktba.org. And what we did was, you've seen the things that I do in the morning. Well, I passed some of them along to Jesse Williams, who's a bass player, plays upright and downright. And he plays with North Mississippi All-Stars now, but we worked with Al Cooper together for years. And then he put some bass tracks on it, and we just used our iPhones. We just, made them on the iPhones. And then Rob Paparosi, a harp player in Jersey, got wind of it, pun intended, and said, let me put some harp on that. And then we had a friend of ours, Sam Miller in Florida, assemble it into a video and mix the tracks together. And it was magical. And all of a sudden, Bernard Purdy wants to play. Okay, good. Let's give Purdy a track. And then all of a sudden we had 20 guests. So we put together a record. I called Joe Bonamassa and I said, would you guys put this out at one stipulation, that we get nothing. You guys get nothing. We get nothing. Every penny goes into the musicians, trying to keep the blues alive. And my little Zoom casts on weedandwhiskeynews.com, which is doing exactly what we're doing now. Where I just talk to people that I know or don't know, hopefully sometimes, and do that kind of thing. And then just starting a gig again, which is great. And Conan, we're finishing up Conan, let's see, after 28 years. But the last 12 years have been on TBS. So that's finishing up in the middle of June, like the last 2 weeks of June or 3 weeks. And I'm going to bring a trio back in. We're actually going to have live music again for the half-hour shows. And then there's kind of talk about a deal in place for HBO Max, and none of us know what that's going to be, but could be more work. If not, I'm ready, man. I was so ready to go out and play this year.
It's so funny when this whole thing hit. Steve, whose father was a pathologist, he kind of knew what was going to happen. He turned to us, and the promoters didn't even know. He turned to the manager in the band. He says, we're out of work for 2 years. That's it. Just get used to it. 2 years. We went, 2 years? Are you kidding me? It's a flu for crying out loud.
No, no.
And he was right. And sure enough, we won't be
He's a
back
pretty
on.
smart cat, you know. He was covering songs like Mercury Blues, for instance.
Mhm.
He was covering songs like Gangster of Love, and then he did The Gangster's Back. He used to also do Every Woman I Know, Crazy About All. He knows more songs than me or you put together.
I know. And because of Taj being an influence on him, he knows a lot of turnarounds that I never learned before.
Not only turnarounds, he also has a way. This is the true artist. Whatever he plays, you walk away and say, that's a great song Steve wrote. Because he doesn't have any of this assimilation in his method. You know, he's Steve Miller. And I love him that he just does what he does. And he respects the music, but he also respects himself. And I think that's the big point where if we can all get that confident, that we don't hear Muddy singing in our head anymore while we're trying to sing. That's, you know, we're still working shit out. I'm still trying to figure out what it is exactly. I know it's blues. I know I've been writing a lot of blues stuff, and I want to get back out and play, you know.
Me too. I'm ready to rock.
You're up north, right? Where are you now?
San Luis Obispo, which is a Central Coast wine country area.
Oh, where they make the Nationals.
There's that one back of me there. That's a custom one that has two outputs. My piezo goes to the house with the pan, and the P90 goes to the amp. That way I can be on a big stage with people screaming and yelling. I can hear my slide. But the dobro part of it would
the
be...
pie pan still works.
But it would be feeding back on stage with all that volume and the screaming and the microphone.
Yeah.
That gets sent directly to the house, and they put that up. I don't hear that. I just hear the P90, so I'm playing like Dwayne Allman style on stage, but the audience is hearing dobro, you know.
Or you mean Jesse Ed style, right?
Separate outfits, and Highlander is here too. They're a couple doors down. So Highlander helped make the split, and National put it inside here. So I have two separate outputs on that.
So yours is special. You know, it's a hot rod, right? Really, everything.
For Dance Dance Dance, because John McPhee played the real dobro solo on Dance Dance Dance.
Yeah.
And I play that live, and the thing would just howl and feedback and squeal and blah, blah. Couldn't put any compression on it. So that's when I got a separate out, and I was able to pull it off.
How great is McPhee? My God. Going all the way back to that Elvis record when I heard Clover, you know?
Yeah.
And heard him. But then now he's in the Doobie Brothers, which is brilliant.
Done. He's a principal member now.
They were the first ones when they put out their Zoom version of Blackwater, which was amazing.
Yeah, and that was done by Rob Arthur, was the editor and the
who's a good friend of mine that plays with Peter Frampton.
In September, we did a gig for a Pennsylvania State fundraiser there. Yeah, Rob's great, man. So yeah, that's what's going on right now. Is everybody's getting online doing this tech stuff. So
it's okay. It's healthy, and I always say too that if you put something up or I put something up, and you're sitting at home, you can play along. If we put a whole song up, you can play along with us. You can also record yourself playing with us. You know, you could take that stream and just load it into your Pro Tools or whatever, your Garage Band, and add yourself to it.
It's like everybody has a KCET television station now. PBS, I should say. Is there anything in particular you'd like to mention that's coming up in the next few weeks?
Love Rocks, New York City on June 3rd at the Beacon Theater. Okay. It's a huge show. It's called Love Rocks, God's Love We Deliver. It's the and it's sponsored by John Varvatos and Greg Williams. They're the producers, and they've been doing it now. I think this might be the 6th year in a row. And then she's going to do a couple of local hits up there in New York. You know, finally, I'm going back to the bitter end where I started. You know. Wow.
But listen, thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been such a ball.
It's that easy, man. Anytime you want, you know. I really thank you. I'm getting used to doing this now. And it certainly heals a lot of people and soothes a lot of souls and gives a lot of interesting insight into who the workers like you and I are. You know, we're not stars, but we're the guys who, you know, we make sure the bed is made. The boss walks in and he's sound checking, or she, it better be right, You know, my heroes were the MGs and the Funk Brothers and the Meters. The guys that were backing everybody up back then, even out here with Hal Blaine and Carol Kay and all these people, I wanted to know who they were, you know, more than I wanted to know who Jan and Dean was. That's the weirdness of me.
No, that's the way it was too. I started out as a studio musician first, and then evolved into writing and getting into bands and stuff.
Yeah, because we so loved our record collection.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Jimmy. Is there one last thing you want to tell the young musicians out there?
Yank Rachel told me this at 90. He says, Jimmy, don't forget, we're not musicians, we're entertainers.
Yep, that's right. That's right. You got to learn how to sing. You got to learn how to do it all.
That's right.
Otherwise, you won't be able to add that extra zero onto your paycheck.
Love to the family, and your Memphis culture,
Yeah, I
which
can't
you
wait.
inherited.
Diane's going to meet you. You guys are going to go way back. I'll just leave the room.
Well, yeah, yeah. I'd love to meet her. I've listened to some of her music too, and she's had quite a career too.
Yeah. Yep, she has. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Well, once again, thanks to everyone for watching this interview with the legendary Jimmy Vivino. I'm sure you guys all love that. Boy, what a great historian in blues. For those of you that want to take lessons on my fretfriends.com website, just go to fretfrenz.com and you can see the intro there. You can also see a sample of my lessons, and there's also a free trial. So if you'd like to take lessons from Kenny, or if you'd like to take private lessons, you can do so by getting in touch with me through my website, kennyleelewis.com, and just sending me an email through there and just saying, hey, let's do it. It's $1 a minute. It's a great deal. We do it through Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, whatever you want to do. Or if you live in the Central Coast, you can come by the house now. I'm fully vaccinated. And if you are, we could probably get together and do it right here at the house. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next one.